here. It's easier if you're not used to have the music of different languages. It's better to have one.
But it is being used. Good afternoon and welcome back. This is the final session that we have in our formal conference today. We of course have got many other things to look forward to this evening, but we've come now to what we call the treasure. Remember, we've been sailing on the high seas today. We've been out on the waves, and we finally found the hidden treasure, and it's about to be revealed to you out of the challenge experts that we've got. But to make it even more interesting, we have taken together a panel of specialists who know more about everything in the world than we do. And I have them on my right-hand side. And I'll just ask each of them if they will introduce themselves just for 2 minutes so that we get a flavour of who these people are that we're going to get such wise comments from later. And first of all, I'm delighted that Catherine Trautmann is here, an MEP. She's rushed down from the Parliament, given up some important things just to be with us. So, Catherine, to you first.
Thank you very much. I'm effectively Catherine Trautmann from the city of Strasbourg, of which I was mayor during 10 years, a militant for social economy and solidarity, and really convinced that innovation can be done with actors and entrepreneurs of social economy. I am member of the European Parliament, the ITRE Committee, Industry, Telecommunications, Research, Energy. Budget Committee, very important to have money. I will speak about it. And now Vice President of the Urban Community, 28 cities, in charge of economical development.
Thank you. And then we have Karol Sachs, who's been with us all day, and we've seen him popping up in different groups.
Yes, thank you. I don't believe that I know everything all over the world about social entrepreneurship, but I'm from Crédit Coopératif, responsible for innovation for already 30 years, and Crédit Coopératif is a middle-sized bank, cooperative bank in France, who is #1 in financing the social sector. And maybe very quickly, we founded with others a European Federation of Ethics Alternative Banks, so we are acting in 12 countries, 13 even countries of Europe. And to finish, we also have 2 investment funds, one who is called COP East, who is acting in the new countries of Europe, and another who has just been created, COP Med, who is acting in the Mediterranean field. So this is the sector that I know, the countries that I know.
So he's an unusual animal. He's an ethical banker. We know about those.
Yes, and I can say espèce pas en voie de disparition, mais reproduction difficile.
Right. Moving on quickly, and last but not least, at the end of the panel, we have Madi Sharma. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thank you. Bear with me if I take an extra minute.
Switch on the microphone.
Where is it? Bear with me if I take an extra minute, but we were doing storytelling and I'm just going to do a quick story. At the age of 16, my dad told me that business was no place for a woman. At the age of 19, I had an arranged marriage. I arranged it because my parents didn't agree with my choice of the boy. At the age of 23, I was told I was over-enthusiastic for my job. How can anybody be over-enthusiastic for a banking job? I took my enthusiasm. I have 2 beautiful daughters. At the age of 28, I was told I would never succeed in anything that I wanted to do because I was a woman. That is by my now ex-husband, yes. But the reason he's my ex-husband is because he put me on the floor and he kicked me. And for 2 days I couldn't move off the floor. Either you're going to be a victim or you're going to be a change maker. And I decided to be a change maker. We have 8 companies across the world, from private sector through to social enterprises through to NGOs. Gandhi said, you must be the change you want to see. Madi says, you must be the change you want to see, no excuses. So I don't want to hear any excuses today.
Well, thank you, Madi. And the format that we now follow is to have a report back from each of the challenge leaders. And all the challenge leaders are doing are speaking back to you what you said to them. And they've synthesized it into a clear presentation. And we're going to start off with the challenge, which was storytelling for change. And the leader there was Attila Mong.
Thank you, and thank you, Madi, for this wonderful storytelling example, because during the 2 discussion groups we agreed that story is key for scaling social innovation, and we identified 4 major questions which we were trying to respond. The first question was, how can we engage media in reporting more about social innovation and social enterprise? And the agreement was that media should not treat in a different way this sector than any other sector. So we would not like to see these topics hidden into supplements and once a year, like let's speak about the good causes and then that's over. Treat it as a topic, but treat it equally as a topic because people are interested in it. And solutions can be specialized journalists or engage owners of media, appealing to the social responsibilities of media and journalists. So that was the one answer. The second question was, how can we innovatively help social entrepreneurs to be better storytellers? Because we believe that story is key and they have to come forward with their stories. And the agreement was that they shouldn't be changed. Let them speak and let them have their own stories, come out with their stories, but speak and tell about the stories of social entrepreneurs, because people buy from people, people are interested in other people's stories, so that's why I use the storytelling techniques. The third question was, how can we connect media with storytellers, because we believe that peer-to-peer communication and peer-to-peer relationships, or building relationships between media people, journalists, editors, media owners, and social entrepreneurs is extremely important. And ideas were, let's have embedded reporters for a certain time with social enterprises. So let's have a reporter for a week, spend a week with the social entrepreneurs. Or another idea was to have a social entrepreneur in the newsroom for a couple of days, so social innovators and social entrepreneurs could understand better how media works, but the importance is in this peer-to-peer help and peer-to-peer consultancy. And the fourth question was what the framework could be, so what kind of policy solutions could help this happening. And we agreed that training, capacity building is extremely important, so we should work on creating an EU-wide infrastructure which would help social innovators to have the capacities needed to better storytelling and thus scaling, and also training journalists to approach in an innovative way these questions. There were ideas about creating eventually an EU-wide press agency specialized in these topics, or also fund journalists and fund stories which are undercovered and underreported. Thank you.
We're not allowed to clap, are we? It's an EU event. We can't clap at EU events.
Come on, good job.
Thank you. The second challenge that we had was getting the next generation of social entrepreneurs started. And Remy is going to lead us into that one, please.
Yeah, so I will remind you the 3 questions I've put, but with the discussion in our groups, we realized that maybe the first question was not a very good one, so we changed more or less the solution. But anyway, I will remind you the question. So, how can social entrepreneurs attract young people from sensitive neighborhoods and out of school and make them employable? Second question was, how can public and private sectors support the development of projects, business creation, held by very young people? And the third one, which relation and action between public and private sector to promote social entrepreneurship among young people? So the solution we find is that we cannot find a solution because we don't have the main actors in the room today. So the idea is that we have to involve the people, I mean the young people that are the subject of this topic to find the solution. Because maybe young people, like other stakeholders, do not want other people to speak for them. So the idea is to create a space. We have the example of the World Cafe, where we can meet young people with elder people, or with people from private and public sectors, so they can talk together and find by themselves the solutions. The other idea in the fact of putting young people at the centers of the question is to show young people that they have positive skills, even if sometimes they don't have positive behaviors. The way they develop themselves is positive in a certain dimension. So the second step will be to raise awareness, to use inspiring examples of social entrepreneurs, so that can give them the motivation to enter into the topic and make it aspirational. The idea is also to mix people from all the generations, because the idea is that young people can learn to older people, and as well as older people can learn to younger people. And the last step is capacity building, the creation of a social, maybe enterprise hub with a physical place or physical establishment in sensitive areas where all these stakeholders can meet and find the solutions to an idea from young people. Some concrete other ideas were the creation of competition within young people, so they get motivated and they try to translate their ideas into concrete facts. And the last idea was to have in Strasbourg an event like a youth social entrepreneurs event dedicated to young people, taking into account that they have very specific problems or very specific issues by themselves.
That's great, and everyone's getting on with it, succinctly feeding back. Really appreciate that. Our third challenge was the missing links in rural regeneration, and Anne-Cécile is going to lead us on that one.
So our group worked on rural regeneration. So the problem, just so that everybody has it in mind, was how today rural areas need a lot of social innovation to fulfill their needs, and maybe their rural areas could become social innovation laboratories, because there are a lot of social needs there that could also help other areas. So how do we solve social problems in rural areas? That was the question. And so the first aspect of it is, of course, how to identify the problems that will be solved. So so what we thought was the best thing to do would have field workers, trained local field workers that would be resources that will work to identify problems, and knowing that it's always better when it comes from the people themselves, and when they know the people, in opposition to somebody coming from somewhere else and asking what's your problem, which is very hard to answer to that. So imagine, so now they have identified one problem. One problem is identified. What happens then is that there is a social innovation lab that takes the form of a bus. This is why there is a bus on the picture. But a solar bus, an electric bus, of course, because it's environmentally friendly. And so this bus is, the idea of the bus is to come with resources, but those resources are only methodologies. So the bus doesn't know the problem, and doesn't know, because the people that know best the problem are the people themselves, right? So it's only, it would be business plan methodology, prototyping methodology, brainstorming methodologies, all these things. And of course, the ones that will solve the problem are the people themselves, the local people. They can be social entrepreneurs from the area, citizens, and other people. They could also be an online version to deal with distance, if there is that was another idea, an online version of that laboratory. There was this question that we had was also, how do we make sure that people come to the bus and actually are willing to collaborate and work together? Then one of the ideas to answer to that was that there could be some money for experimentation if the idea is good. So it means that there is actually a real outcome after the laboratory, after the solution. And so all of this, of course, needs money, which is a detail we haven't figured out yet. But so that's a detail.
Now we head off in a different direction in Europe, and we go to the conversation. It was about better, not just bigger. Size doesn't matter. I think it might be the other message, is it? Anyway, I'm glad that Nevin is going to tell us the truth about it.
Yeah, that was your quote, not mine. But I would first like to thank the wonderful group of people that were joining me today to work on this challenge, and I would really like to have these people continue consulting me. Then I think we wouldn't be facing so much challenges. No, really, it was really group of bright and inspiring people, knowledgeable. So we didn't. As you can see, we didn't come up with solutions, we come with more questions, but this is the start of something. But we kind of prioritized around the three main issues. One of them being the growth. Is it a good or bad thing? It's it's not either a good or bad thing. It's something that is necessary, but you don't have to think of growth as something which is general, with something that is only in terms of volume, but as something that has to do with development. It's a needed change, it's a needed transition, and you always constantly need to grow, meaning you need to innovate, you need to work on how you can support your mission in different environments, in different times, and in different contexts. So having that in mind, it brings new challenges. While starting an enterprise or an NGO, you're more an entrepreneur. You tend to do things yourself, And building your enterprise or a charity, you're more a manager, and you tend to manage processes, people, clients, and other key stakeholders. So, having said that, what sort of growth do we look? And I think the whole group, we have talked about many things, but the main point I would draw attention is that you have to have a clear strategy, and you have to have a clear social purpose and a social mission that you want to achieve, and having that put in the first place, then the growth will come as a consequence, and the type of growth will come as a consequence. But the thing we discussed is that the growth is not necessarily in terms of volume, in terms of overturn, in terms of number of staff, but it can go in depth. It can go into having less but more specialized services. It can go into having less but more services that you charge more for, and different things like these. So, it can go in having not maybe less staff, but more staff, but less, not more staff, but less staff with higher capacities to deliver different things. And a number of people have said, you have to be able to say no sometimes, to say no to new business opportunities, to say no to funds, to say no to some opportunities that are not in line with your mission and that are not in line with your, vision, because these things will, at the end of the day, only limit you and not enable you to do things. So, we have to practice to say no to money. Yeah, we can do that on a separate session. And finally, there was a lot of discussion about the hybrid model that a lot of us face. We definitely, where on one hand you're a charity and you work with you work with classic donors, foundation, EU, USAID. On the other hand, you want to diversify funding. You have your social enterprises, you provide services, and some perceive you as a business, some perceive you as a charity. Sometimes the donors say, well, you earn money on the market, why should we be funding you? And we agree that at this point it is really not necessary, to have a formal agreement on are you this or that, and this is, you are bounded by some legal boundaries, but at the end of the day, you need to kind of brand this identity, and you need to kind of present yourself as how you feel. Are you a social entrepreneur, an entrepreneur with a social purpose, and charity, which is kind of entrepreneurial? It really doesn't matter. So we should and tend to have a mixed business model, and during time and over time we will see how it works, and then we'll try to make it a practice and put it also in some legislative and other things. And the last thing we mentioned is about how as a founder you kind of tend to kind of move back from things, and some kind of, I would say, psychological implications of that, so how to move back, when is the time to kind of let things go and put some other people in charge of other things, and you feel responsibility for things, and you feel responsible for something that you have basically founded, and this is something that I think needs further discussion and probably also support from our panel of experts. So I would stop here. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Devin. And our final challenge was achieving more with less, and we were looking at the effect of the brain drain. So Eleni is going to lead us through this final session. Thank you.
I think it's off. You should turn that off.
Another? No. Okay, as mentioned before, Thessaloniki otherwise is a collaboration platform with a social, environmental, architectural and cultural character. We suggest innovating ideas to transform Thessaloniki into a better city. We came to Euclid to raise two different challenges, the brain drain and the lack of fundings. And we come up with a different challenge, which is that we are trying to solve the free rider problem, which is that no one is responsible for the problem and everybody wants somebody else to face it. as you all know, Greece is facing all those economical issues at the moment, so people are very angry. And that's why they are not becoming a part of those problems. And we thought that the best way is to try to engage them. So we have to raise the ownership and engage the community with innovating and flexible solutions, again, to transform Thessaloniki into a better place. Then we have to create partnerships in order to enable people to work in groups and collaborate in a better way. And in the end, if we manage to engage all those people from the community and to create those partnerships, we will eventually become sustainable. And if we become sustainable, we have people rely on us because we are going to be reliable. That's it. Thank you.
Well, there we have it. I hope you recognize the feedback that's been given. If you've been working in a group, I do hope that your ideas have been sufficiently distilled and presented, and we're really grateful to the 5 who have put up with us all day and helped us on our journey. But now we're going to turn to our panel of specialists, and we're going to ask them if they will, perhaps in whatever way they feel appropriate, pick up the themes, perhaps to focus in if they feel that there's an area that they want to emphasize, or perhaps come with a broader response, and to give us their view of what's been going on today. Have we got it about right? Does this make sense? Do we need to think further on it? And then once they've spoken, we'll open it up to the floor and hopefully have a few extra suggestions from you in the last few minutes of our conference. But first of all, Catherine, how did you react to all that?
I think that all the contributions give a real impulse in the moment because, of course, social economy must not be just a sort of, way to give a therapy during the crisis. For me, social economy is a real issue in itself, and we need to show that it must be treated equally with the ordinary economy, but with the proper specificity, because what was one of the battles in the European institutions was to show to the Commission that every sector couldn't be just put in the competition, and the competition was not adapted for non-profit economy. So we can have profitable companies in the social economy. We can have non-profit associations. We can have different types, cooperatives and so on. So what is the richness of the social economy is also a sort of weakness. That is that we have a diversity. So what was very difficult was to explain that diversity was creativity and innovation and initiative. So now this battle was won. Second battle. This was in our intergroup. I forgot to say that I'm a member of the intergroup and one of the founders of social economy in the European Parliament. And the second was to give a statute to some type of social company, like in French, mutuelle. We didn't succeed on associations, but we will do it, and to have money. Because, of course, the problem was how to give a financial support for this economy. And they said, non-profitable economy, they don't need money. They don't need help. It's like charity. Okay, no. If it is economy, it is economy. So why? We don't consider the creation of an activity, even without the consideration of the juridic structure. We need to see that it's a part of economy. If you compare in several countries, it is the case, for example, in this city, the level of growth of social economy and ordinary economy, we lose jobs in the ordinary economy, we have growth in social economy. Why? Because first, building the local ecosystem, then connect all the ecosystems we know. We can do it through internet, we can do it through a platform, a European platform. This is one of our challenges. So thank you for the idea you give, and especially about the media, the visibility. If this type of entrepreneurship is not so supported, it is because it's not known. First, knowledge. Second, skills. When people want to create together or alone, or we do two or many, the question is how to take examples and to combine skills. So we see with examples, very concrete, you know, in rural area or in urban cities, it's the same. Put people together, made inhabitants understanding what happens with this type of initiative, support initiatives from inhabitants, because they have projects, they have ideas. Sometimes they don't want any public help, because they want to be independent. Respect independence, because of course this sector needs to be also in conformity and comfortable with the objective, ethical and social objectives. So this is also very important. We speak of values. Values. What do we need now with the financial crisis? To come back to values. This is a chance for us, really a chance, because we speak of values on this point. So having in the European level the capacity to have a priority, to give an access to regional funds, to the European social funds. This was one of the topics on which we put a red line in the discussion of the budget. Successful. The amount is not so big, but we have now the capacity to do it. Please use it, because the next time when we discuss the budget, they will come back, the ordinary colleagues, and they will say, look, you made a battle on that, and now it's not used. Please use it. So if you want to know how to do, it's one of the points you can ask to the Commission during these days, because we must implement and we must be successful. So this is important. Then another reaction, it is young people. Young people, they are very able on computers, internet, they want to take initiatives. We see some new entrepreneurs of 15, 16, 18. In this city, we have a project with the university is to give a formation, not only in the business schools, but in the university, to give skills to create a company. And many want to associate in a cooperative, in an association, or otherwise. And then it's very interesting to give the capacity to realize, to concretize the project. Then the problem is the money. You have the investment. Sometimes it is possible to have the money at the beginning. Then you grow, and then you don't have the money. And one of my big disappointment was that marvelous projects could fail because in the second step, the bank said, no, no, no. If you ask me 500,000 euros, I can come with my fund. If it is less, no. No interest. But you can succeed with less. With less. So making plus with less, we must make plus with plus also. But also to give the importance of less. If we need less money, it is because it's about other type of activities. So this is a problem, and we need to have the discussion, not with Crédit Coopératif, but the Crédit Coopératif is always the direction the people take. So the battle is also to have ordinary banks to understand that they have to give money if the project is good, if there are some people around supportive to this project. But the first thing is to be convinced. So please, you are entrepreneurs. We want to be useful because we are confident in the capacity of social entrepreneurs. So that's why this conference is such an occasion for us. We didn't have it with the Commission and interest of the Greek presidency. So I know the problems of presidency. Please say also that the territory is very important in Europe. when we had the debate of a macroeconomic conditionality, you know, the division of the north, of the south, the rich, the poor. No, in social economy, there is no rich, no poor. There is the meaning, the sense, the orientation, the objectives of an activity and of a project, as Madi said. A bit of, you know, to be angry, you know, okay? A bit to be convinced, a bit to be resistant, a bit to be performant, a bit to be competitive. Yes, we can do so. So that's why I want just to say to you, because I spoke to Mr. Sharma, the Prime Minister of Greece. He's not of my party, you know. He was a colleague of the right side of the hemicycle. At this time, he was not confident in social economy, but tomorrow I said, okay, there is this social entrepreneurship conference, and you will be the symbol. You will be the symbol. In Greece, people are coming out. There is a problem of skills, a problem of money, a problem of project, of banking, everything. So this is a challenge for us, European members, and convinced to have a chance in Europe. Because this morning, the battle was with anti-European people wanting to make everything failing in the solutions to the crisis, and especially failing the solidarity between people. There is no way without solidarity, and social economy is a way to do solidarity. Not a way to think or to imagine, it's a way to do. So that's why generation, rural era, my colleague, we voted with a big majority an initiative report to take the rural era and an agricultural era to be examples and focus points on which we could organize new development. Green, economical, and social development. So take the chance. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Catherine. And I have to say that just listening to you leaves me with some hope and encouragement that there is someone in the Parliament who takes such views, and we are grateful that you share them with us today. Karol, how did you react to this whole situation that we've been exploring today?
You have to put out. Okay, thank you. No, it was very interesting. It's very difficult to speak after Catherine. I say that it's true that the biggest challenge for us today is to use the money who are in the budget 2014-2020. And let's forget all our difference. You know, we have for the same subject at least 3 or 4 European federations who are fighting between them. The most important is to use the money as quickly as possible, so we will ask for additional money. This is a really big challenge. I don't agree with you that you don't need Crédit Coopératif. Yes, in each country you need a Crédit Coopératif, and after the other banks will follow up. So we also, as I say, as the European Federation of Ethics Alternative Banks, we have 4 financial federation of alternative banks in Europe. Let's make one, but powerful, and let's work together. If not on all, I have one remark very quickly in each subject. There's a lot of information in the media. But the problem of European media that they are using at least 30 languages, so we don't know what is happening in the other country. And we didn't find from Conference of Krakow, Active Europe, we didn't find the money and somebody who will put on in the common website the information. There's a lot of information, even inside the country, in France, for example, but it's very difficult to find it. So maybe that's a challenge for Euclid if we can make a European banking information about social entrepreneurship. The second remark is that I believe that we have to put something about social entrepreneurship and environmental consumption, sustainable development in the schools. The children are the lobby, free lobby, you don't have to pay them, and they are very efficient. So this is for me also a big challenge. The third remark is that the rural regeneration. The problem of rurality is very, very strong because you don't see the problems. In the big city you can see. In the rural area you don't see. So it's a huge challenge all over Europe, especially in the countries, and it's a case of 40% of European countries now, where there's a lot of people on the rural areas. And this is a big challenge, and we don't have as much experience in rural area than in the cities. Now, better not going bigger. It depends of everybody. I also prefer that going by creating a new entity and not became too big. Too big in our sector, it's very difficult. But especially what I am asking, it's also a big challenge, is to grow by cross-border social franchising. It will be a pity if all the new countries of Europe, or all the countries like Greece, who have a huge problems, Greece, Portugal, have to learn everything from the beginning. We can help them just making a social franchising. And the last remark that I have, making more with less. Once more, social franchising, and very important to get money from the bank. We have to, the banking regulation, Basel II, Basel III, ask at least 5 years of statistic. How you can have the statistic when you never make something? So this, the cross-border franchising, the cross-border training, and even the cross-border collaterals, it's the free condition to develop all over Europe social entrepreneurship. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Karol. That's true to form and systematic, as I would expect you to be. Thank you for that. That's really good. And finally, but by no means least, and I must point out that there's a majority of women on this panel tonight, this afternoon, and that's not by accident. Madi, would you like to finish us off?
If I give you €1 and you give me €1, we each have €1. Agreed? But if I give you one idea and you give me one idea, we each have 2 ideas. There are 500 million people in the European Union. If each person only had one idea, and that one idea was turned from an idea into an action, how quickly could we come out of the crisis? There are 7 billion people on this planet. If each person was allowed to have one idea and that one idea turned into an action, we could solve poverty, we could solve food insecurity, we could solve climate change. We do not use the brains of our people. And the crying shame of today is that our young people are here today. They are not the young people of the future. They are the people of the European Union and of the world today. And what do? We put them on the scrap heap and we totally ignore them. And that's why I'm so pleased to be able to speak to so many young people and from across all the European regions. It really makes me happy. I'm a true European. My mother is Austrian, my grandfather was Polish, I was born in the UK. My dad's Indian, which is where I've got the big nose from. Right? We have to work together. And so I want to point out to you now that I can solve everybody's problems in one go. I'm here to help. I'll offer to help anybody at any time for free. Right? Please don't get me wrong, I'm here to help. But it's looking at solutions, and it's you not using excuses and coming back to me and saying, oh, you can't do it like that. You can do it. I'm telling you, you can do it. But let's get out of this European mentality that you are going to get free handouts of money. We are built on a Europe that's giving out money constantly. It controls you. You cannot stand up and talk like I am doing, because if you do, you won't get funding for your projects. The European pot is empty. Start like I started, in poverty. Assume you have absolutely nothing, and do what it is that you want to do through your passion. Go back and look, because the second problem that we have in Europe is that we teach business plans. There's not a successful entrepreneur in the world who started their business with a business plan. So why does Europe teach business plans? Because you have to access finance. If you're doing a business to access finance, you are doing your business for the wrong reason. Doing a business is to have an idea and turn your idea into an action and prove that it's an idea that others want to buy into. And for that, actually you don't need any money. You just have to have your belief and your conviction that this is going to work. I will back anybody and help anybody, but I will not give you funds. Under any circumstances. We do give companies funds, very small ones. We give funds. The first question I ask anybody, how many have you sold? Be it a service, be it a product, how many of you, most people no, I haven't sold any, it's an idea. It's in the business plan, but we know it's everything that everybody, of course it is. It's your idea. Go out and sell one, and then we know it's a credible idea. Go out and sell 100 and we know we've got a market. Because no disrespect to my colleague next door, the banks are waiting for all those companies to come and ask for money. And all those people to come and ask for money. And the European Union is waiting for people to come who've spent hours and days to complete projects. And then to turn around and say, I'm really sorry, we're not going to give it to you. Please don't waste your time doing that. I agree. But this comes, thank you. But this brings me to the most important thing that we have in the European Union, and the most important thing that every single one of you today who has spoken has: human capital. The most valuable asset of any company is its human capital, the people who work for it. I had 35 staff when I had my food company, every single one of them long-term unemployed. I currently have 11 staff around the world. Not one of them is over the age of 28, and I have not checked anybody's CV. Never. I haven't looked at them. Ellie's sitting over there with the iPad. Ellie works for me. She joined me as an intern. Don't believe in free interns. We paid Ellie a small amount of money. How long did it take Ellie to convince me that she was the right person to do my job? 2 hours. 2 hours and she was fully employed. 2 weeks later, she's come to me with, Madi, I've got this brilliant concept. Let's set up an academy where we teach the Madi effect. What's the Madi effect? The Madi effect is what's in this room now. You're all the motivation, the inspiration. Every single one of you has it, and we want to bring that out. So we now have the Academadi, developed by Ellie. She's been with me less than 3 months. She can speak 5 languages. I didn't even know. But every single one of you has these people from inside your organization. You're just not finding out who they are. Take every single one of you, take an unemployed person and ask them, please come into our workplace, come in, watch. Each one of those people can build a separate part of your company. That's what Steve Jobs did. That's what Virgin do. That's what the Madi group is doing. I'm running 8 companies. You don't think I'm sitting there actually manufacturing samosas or writing press releases or doing anything else that I do. No, my staff are doing it. And that brings me to the fact that we also need that growth must be sustainable. Whatever kind of growth it is, it must be sustainable. And here is the really important thing. It's why we need the mixed business models. I make profit. Please do not be fooled. Profit is a great word, because profit gives you choices. If you don't make profit, well, I'm sorry, but you're a charity. And I'm sorry, but you cannot live on somebody else's money, and you have no right to live on somebody else's money. And I'm sure that'll get quoted. But you don't have a right. But with my profit, I choose to set up social enterprises. So the profit from one company helps me set up the social enterprises and the things that I want to do. Those social enterprises make profit. They're in the fields of education, they're in the fields of women development, and they make a profit. But that profit is ploughed back into those social enterprises so that those social enterprises can grow organically. But we also then have NGOs. Now, my NGOs have a specific quality, a criteria. They must be self-sustaining. That means they must try and operate like a business. And they're banned from using European funds. So we work on domestic violence. We work on the training of the unemployed. But we work on different models, most of it which is funded by the Madi Group, but others where we find different partners. Please think outside of the box and look for different models, because that's the only way we can move forward. My definition, I am the most successful person in the world. And my definition of success is that I wouldn't change my life with anybody else on this planet. That's the objective that we should get everybody to, and if we can do that, everybody's problems are going to be solved. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Madi. The authenticity of everything that you say just shines through, and we're grateful to you for being so open with us and sharing it in that way. Fantastic. We don't have a lot of time, but I will try and take a few questions, maybe 2 or 3 questions, just so that you don't feel utterly frustrated at the end of the day that you wanted to make that final point. You'll have to be quick, however. Would anyone like to ask a question? Everybody wants a drink. Cliff, we can probably give you a microphone down there. Yeah, there you go.
I'll give a go. And I guess this is really focused on folk who have some influence over the European Union Commission and so on, which is that the most important people who relate to this conference are the people who are starting up new social enterprises. Without them, all of us who support them, invest in them, do policy on them, research them, whatever, have no job. It's all about them. They are the people who are least able to raise any funds from the European Union or to understand the regulations or whatever, because they're too busy starting their own business. They're generally running small businesses. They don't have the time and money to lobby in Brussels and understand their way around. What can the EU do with the Social Business Initiative to make sure that that doesn't happen again with this new wonderful initiative, but that instead the resources, the know-how, all that goes with it, get right down to the roots, the most important people, the people starting new social ventures?
Before we answer that, I'm going to give someone else a chance to come in. Does anybody else want to ask another question? Or else I will throw it over. Ah, yes. I don't know.
I have a question for Madi. My name is Zora. I'm from Bosnia. You said money is not important, and I really agree. It's one of the most important side things in the life. But how did you make your first money? I mean, obviously you have some money. So how did you move from somebody on the floor to somebody who now owns 8 companies?
Okay, we'll answer that one in just a second. And my final break of the evening. Anyone else? Oh, two. Oh, that's confusing. Right. I've put a microphone on for you. There you are.
Thank you very much, Geza Tascini. I just have a question. How today will channel into tomorrow in the European Commission conference?
Ooh, that's difficult. No, it's not. We might as well take the last one. Be quick, and we'll go back to the panel for a final comment.
A quick question to those from the EU. Having heard what Madi's just said, are you ready for the big shift in the type of lobbying that you get in about 5 to 10 years' time? That's not all about more money, but just making it easier to do business in Europe?
Well, thank you. That's a nice little crop of questions, and I'm just going to ask the panelists if they want to just pick up the points that are relevant to them. Catherine.
To come back about money, I think that money is not the first, and I didn't speak about money at first, but I'm very used to see some beautiful projects failing because of wrong decision, lack of interest, and lack of money. And for me, a person who has a good idea perhaps can find a way, perhaps cannot. And in a previous life, I proposed to find a solution, for example, with associations which work for integration of people in jobs. So these are non-profitable, activities, even if they make money, because of course you need also money to function and to go to the market. But the only solution we could find for the moment in which they had to reinvest was to propose to them to put a bit of their money in a basket, in a bank, and to find with mutualization of their capacities the way to guarantee a new investment. So we always can find solution. What makes me motivated to work on the European level is the inequality between people who want to create an activity which can be useful for the population and for the people who create this activity. This inequality must be, understood, and we must fight against this. A second point on which, in the moment, I work on is we spoke about cross-border. This is very important in Europe. 30% of the territory is cross-border, but we need also make cross-border solution between sectors. We experiment the situation between researchers, social economy, and cultural or creative companies or artists or organizations. This is marvelous because the people who have the capacity to create, they can be on different sides. It's not only the social, but I see more and more people in creative economy wanted to take the format, the structure of a cooperative or other things because they want to be together. So this is very important. So I want to say that please don't make me anxious about the way we can spend the money, because I think we don't have a lot, and I think that it's justice to help, not to create an abstract something which is not feasible on an economical point of view. But it was so impossible to go to public market for companies of social economy because of the rules of European Union, because of the competitive rules. So this is a political problem for us, you know? That's why we have an agenda, a political agenda to work. So private, and I know many, many beautiful stories, but the beautiful stories cannot just solve all the stories and the pitiful stories we know. So what we ask the Commission to do is to look in every country what happens and who are the social entrepreneurs and companies. And this is very useful because we, the European members, we cannot have the capacity to do it. So this is an engagement, for example. So if it is done, the problem of the lobby is not the same, because we know the people, we know the experiences, we can give the knowledge to others, we can have a sort of participation and cooperative way to work. So this is very good. So this is not so difficult, but we need to have people in the different countries. That's why this type of Euclid initiative, the conference of the Commission, which was inspired by the practical way of working of your sector, this is a first experience, and it will be done new times. It's not just only one. The Commission is so glad to see that it is a success, then they will come back to create this platform. So this is some concrete questions on which we will work. And of course, we have addresses, we have internet address, we have our intergroup, and you can be free also, because we are just like a non-profitable lobbyist also for such causes.
Well, thank you for that. And
I must.
You must go, I know, and we're grateful for your time this afternoon.
Thank you.
And be ready for the tsunami of emails and requests that you might get.
We are a group.
We are following. Madi, do you want to just share your secret that the Balkans really wanted to know about? How did you do it?
Yeah, I just want to add something first. First of all, I'm also from the European institutions, because I'm from the European Economic and Social Committee, which represents civil society. And I was asked yesterday, so why is Euclid doing this conference before the big conference? And why are you going? And I said, because when you look at what they're doing in their conference, it's much more practical and of benefit than what tomorrow will be. You have 3 keynote speakers tomorrow, Mr. Andor, Mr. Barnier, and Mr. Tajani. Which one of those has ever operated a social enterprise? Have they even been in a social enterprise? We'd have to check. Mr. Barnier, okay. But the fund that they're talking about is for the big banks to support the big social enterprises, which are questionable. They're not going to help the yous and me's of this world. So we should be able to raise those questions tomorrow of these commissioners. But there's no Q&A tomorrow to be able to ask the commissioners the questions. That's my first point. Second point is, how did I do it? I started in my kitchen at home because I only had potatoes, flour and spices. And I made 4 products. That's all I had. I made 4. I went out, I sold those 4, and from the profit from the 4 came back in and made 8. Went out, sold the 8, came back in, made 16, and so on and so on. 8 years later, we were producing 10,000 products a week, supplying supermarkets and airlines. And then, and you need to know this, I then failed. I lost the company. And I had to start all over again. But I started all over again in exactly the same way. Successful entrepreneurs rarely tell you that they failed. The majority of successful entrepreneurs, no matter what field they are in, have failed. So please do not give up under any circumstances. Please keep going. Failure is the chance to have another go intelligently. If you haven't failed, you haven't learnt. Please keep going.
Well, thank you. That's it. You must fail. But you must shake yourself down and try again, because you'll be better the second time than you were the first. Well, thank you very much. This session is now finished. I'm going to invite Louisa to come and give us the results of the voting. Those of you who are tapping the voting stand, we want to know what the results are. Louisa, over to you. It is instant, but we do need to load it onto the computer. So do you with us, Terry?
So good afternoon to everyone. I will just make a very short presentation of actually to present the results of the voting, because you have been so kind today, during the entire day, to vote, and we have actually about 3 main questions. So the question that we asked throughout the day were 3 main questions. So, is the EU policy conducive to social entrepreneurship? The second one is a European Parliamentary Committee on Social Business. Could it make the difference? And the third one is a universal definition for social enterprise necessary? So these are 3 questions that I think are quite kind of burning topics at the moment. And as you can see, 2 questions out of 3 presented very similar results. So basically, is the EU policy conducive to social entrepreneurship? Some people are saying, yes, it is. Some other, no. So the majority is actually saying no, although still there are a high number of yes. Regarding the definition, again, we have more or less the same situation. So we still have most of the people saying that yes, definition is actually needed, although many people are against this. But the third question presents a much more clear picture. So people are absolutely pro a European Parliamentary Committee on Social Business because they think this could make the difference. You think, actually. So it's a pity that Madame Trautmann has actually to go, but we will definitely inform her about this result, which I think it is interesting. So this was just to give you a little bit of an overall presentation of what the results are of the voting. You can still vote and express your preference. And someone before was asking me about how we can also feed into the Commission question, into the Commission conference, sorry, and this is one of the ways. So I invite you again to go to the station where you can tap your badge and express your preference. And if you have something else to add, use the wall and express yourself. Say what you want to say. And now it's done, and I will pass the microphone to Thierry, the president. And I hope you will enjoy just the end of the conference and our reception. So please stay with us.
Thanks, Luisa. As Luisa said, you are going to enjoy, I think, more the reception than the end of the conference, so I will be quick. On the end of this conference, I would like first to say that I was very pleased with the participation, the productive side of this conference. I completely agree with what was said on the fact that this was a real fact conference, a real ground conference. And I think this is the most important thing to fit in whatever institutional discussion which can be done at the European level or at the world level. And so I thank you all for this participation and for the concrete work. On that, maybe two remarks. First of all, for tomorrow, even if there is no Q&A, I think it's important that whenever you meet people, you stand for the ideas, the concept, the things you have discussed today. I think it's a good opportunity tomorrow. Take it. I think it's very important. A second thing which is important is on Euclid's side, of course, we will take the remarks to the Commission and so on. But more concretely, I think there were 2 ideas coming from the workshops which I think we should take in account. The first one is invite young people. We have also young people in the staff. Less in the board, anyway. But the second, so I don't know how, but I think this is something we have to think about. And there is a second thing which was developing during the day, because participating in workshops, then we discovered that maybe, and I think Neven said it, maybe it should be continued. The way we did it in the workshops is something people can value and can use in their everyday job. So using a panel of peers to work on something could be something interesting. So we just thought about it with some people, you know, in the lobby. We made real lobbying, you know, the lobbying for concrete things. And we thought that we could try to make a first pilot on that. So we discussed with MOVE on the project about rural areas. And we think that we will try to find a place to test the idea, to have it not only done in a conference, but to have a follow-up on the ground with some partners. So, and we will of course inform on what could be done on that. It's just an idea, but I think we have also to come out of this room with concrete things to be done. Now, for the conclusions, first of all, if you hadn't voted through blendology, I don't know if it is still possible. So please, if you want to revert the vote or to change it, you have the opportunity to do it still. But as soon as you have done that, you take this thing and you don't keep it for yourself, you give it back. Please. The same for these kind of things, which are often forgotten, and people say where the bloody phones have gone. So please remember to give them back at the entrance for this, and the other one in the table at the red desk, I think you call it, in the entrance. So this was for two very practical things. A third practical thing is about the cafes this evening. There is one change. The Taxo Cafe has changed the location, and all the details are on a map, which is also put on the table in the entrance. So the people who want to go there for the Taxo Cafe, please take the new address, which is L'Artichaut, artichoke in English, I think. But it is written in French because you are in France here. 56 Grand Rue in Strasbourg. Another practical thing which is very important for us. I did my job, so I show you that I did it. You have an evaluation sheet. So please take it and fill it in, because it's important for the staff and for us to see what we can improve and how we can do better next time. So please fill it and give it back after you leave. Now about thanks, because I thanked you, but if you were here, it's also because other people mobilized. First of all, of course, again, our partners, Conseil Général du Bas-Rhin, with this room and the magnificent reception. City of Strasbourg and Communauté Urbaine of Strasbourg, because they were very supportive. So I think we can also thank them and applaud them. Deloitte, we have. I will come back to the British Council very soon, because we have to thank them for something else. But before doing that, I want about Deloitte say one more thing. This morning we had a presentation, and one of the things which was discussed with Paul is that maybe you, in your countries, you are not all in Brussels. In your countries, maybe you would like to have a contact with people of Deloitte. So there will be a list of country contacts, which will be downloaded in the website, on the website of Euclid. You could use them in a few days when we come back from Strasbourg. First thing. Then I have to come back to British Council and announce you that British Council is offering the reception we will have now, which will be in the foyer of this building, and that you will also have a presentation from British Council on a video. So maybe if you want to say one word on it?
Thank you very much. Just very briefly, there'll be drinks out there, but we'll meet in the room opposite. And I would just say a few words about the British councils and social entrepreneurship. But we do want to show, the whole point of this is really to show you and talk a little bit about international perspectives outside Europe. And we have a very nice 8 minutes, so it's not very long, video to show you of some of the experiences, not just what the British Council's done, but also some of the things that we know about around the world outside Europe, and we think that's worth sharing. So it's about international perspectives. So once you picked up the drink, we will aim to start over there by 6 o'clock and finish by about 20 past 6 anyway. So there'll be plenty of time to wrap up by 7 and for you to get to the cafes. Thanks very much.
Thanks a lot. When I spoke about this, I forgot to do my job. Maybe it's Alzheimer. So you see there are also problems for elder people. To thank StatHop for that system, and I think everybody enjoyed the system. So now we have also to check what the result is. Normally, you should get some contact list in the following days at home, which is quite practical. Two last thanks. There is one thank we never have to forget, which is for people who you don't see. But I ask you just to turn your heads and to see in the back there over. And you see the interpreters who made a tremendous job the whole day, and I want you to thank them very warmly. And to finish, there are also other people you saw, but these people were really at the core of the success of that day. And I want really to mention them and them to stand up. And it is a team of Euclid. They did a tremendous job. We have Lucas, Evelina, Joe, and Sarah. Please stand up. And a special thank to two other persons, and all these thanks, of course, are done by me, but also by Stephen, who is sitting there, Stephen Barnett, Executive Director. A special thank to the two, let's say, we say in French, chevilles ouvrières. I don't know how you say that, really the working core of these days, who were Louisa and Eleanor. Please thank them, and really very, very carefully. Well, I think we have done our job. I thank you very much for all this day, for all the contribution. Thank you also, of course, of all the people who took the time to come to us. Karol, Madi, and also Catherine Trautmann, who had to leave. And I invite you to go to the reception offered by British Council. And then, after that, enjoy the evening.